This is the hardest thing that I have ever had to explain to someone who is dying. It was 2017, and I was working in a hospice at the time, and one of the patients said to me, "The problem with your Buddhist views is that it's all about death and dying. You think about death all the time." I could see that he was deeply troubled by the prospect of his own death, and I knew that my explanation of why Buddhists do unfear death was getting through to him. I could see that what he really wanted from me was reassurance. He wanted me to tell him that everything was going to be okay, but I couldn't do that. So after some time, I gave up trying to convince him that there was nothing to fear, and instead asked him a question. If you weren't afraid of death, how would you live your life differently? His response was immediate. I wouldn't waste a single moment. I would spend every moment with my family. I would eat only the food I love. I would speak my truth. I would stop worrying about money. I would stop fighting with my wife. In that conversation, I learned something very important about the Buddhist view of death. I realized that our fear of death prevents us from living fully in the present moment. So let's talk about why Buddhists don't fear death. The first point is called anicca. The nature of reality is that nothing is permanent. Everything changes. Our bodies are constantly changing. Every second of every day, cells are dying and being replaced. Nothing is static, everything is in flux. Even the ground beneath our feet is slowly eroding and shifting. This applies to everything in life. Our relationships change, the seasons change, cities change, countries change. Nothing is permanent. Now, most of us find this concept unsettling because we identify strongly with our physical bodies and the life that we currently live. We feel like we have a permanent right to stay exactly where we are forever. But from the Buddhist's perspective, the only constant in life is change. So when we cling tightly to anything in our lives, whether it's a person, a job, or even our favorite political party, we are bound to experience suffering. Change is inevitable, and clinging to permanence is futile. The sooner we can embrace this, the less afraid we will be of death. Because when we understand that nothing lasts forever, we also begin to understand that nothing is actually ours. Now, the fact that nothing is permanent might make you think that life is meaningless, but that's not what Buddhism teaches. It's true that if nothing lasts forever, then nothing is ours. But Buddhism teaches that just because something doesn't last forever doesn't mean that it's not real. Your body is made of atoms that are constantly changing, but that doesn't mean that you're not real. The entire universe is always changing, but that doesn't mean that the universe is not real. In fact, that's precisely what makes life so precious. It's the fact that everything is in constant flux. That means that each moment is completely unique and never has to be repeated. There will never be another moment exactly like the one you're experiencing right now. The flowers blooming in your garden, the smile on your partner's face, the taste of the meal you've cooked, the sound of the birds outside your window. All of these things will eventually cease to exist. All of them are impermanent. And it's precisely this impermanence that gives life its beauty. Once you realize that nothing lasts forever, then every moment becomes more precious. You learn to savor every sunrise, every laugh, every kind word, because you know that one day it will pass and you won't be able to relive it again. So if you want to live a life filled with joy and meaning, you have to embrace impermanence. The next point is rebirth. The idea of rebirth isn't easy for many people to understand, but it's a fundamental part of Buddhist teaching. When we die, according to Buddhist teaching, we are reborn into another life form. Now, that life form could be human, it could be animal, it could be a god, but it will definitely be something. We carry our consciousness with us wherever we go. Now, many people imagine the process of rebirth as something similar to the way we're born. They imagine a soul or an ego entering a mother's womb and developing over 9 months into a fully functioning human being. But that's not the way Buddhists view it. From a Buddhist perspective, rebirth is much more like flipping a page in a book. When you turn the page, you're still in the same book, but the story is different. Similarly, when we're reborn, we're still in the same universe, but the details of our lives are different. When we die, we take with us the sum total of our actions, our karma. Now, this karma doesn't refer to the good and bad things that happen to us. Karma refers to the good and bad things that we do. If you've been kind, compassionate, and generous in your life, you will be reborn into a beneficial situation. If you've been cruel, greedy, and selfish, you will be reborn into a difficult situation. But the most important thing to remember about karma is that it's always neutral. Karma is simply the result of our actions. It's neither good nor bad. We are the ones who imbue our karma with meaning. So what does this mean for you and me? Well, first of all, it means that we have the power to shape our future. We are not simply victims of circumstance. Our future is not written for us. We get to write it. Our future will be shaped by the good and bad karma that we create in this lifetime. So if we want to be reborn into a life that's happy and free from suffering, we need to start acting in ways that create good karma. And the best way to do that is to be kind, compassionate, and helpful to others. Secondly, it means that we shouldn't fear death. From a Buddhist perspective, death is nothing to fear. It's just a transition from one life to another. And since our future is in our own hands, we should use this knowledge to motivate us to live better lives now. Which leads us to the final point, which is the death of the ego. In Buddhism, we don't have a permanent self. We don't have an unchanging soul. Instead, we are a collection of physical and psychological processes. There is no static entity behind the constantly changing phenomena of our lives. We are simply the sum total of our experiences, our memories, our emotions, our habits, and the way that we interpret the world around us. Now, the problem with this is that we usually identify strongly with our egos. We think that our egos are real. We think that they're permanent. We think that they're separate from other people. But when we die, our egos also die. And this is a great thing, because it means that we are freed from all of the suffering that our egos create for us. Our egos are the source of our fear and our anxiety, our greed and our hatred. Our egos are responsible for all of the bad things that happen in our lives. And the sooner we can let go of our egos, the sooner we can be free. So why shouldn't you fear death? Because it's just another step on your journey through life. As a Buddhist monk, I believe that death is nothing to fear. I believe that it's a natural and necessary part of life. And I believe that it's an opportunity for us to be reborn into a new life that is filled with even more joy and meaning than the one we currently live. If you enjoyed this video, I encourage you to consider making a donation. The generosity of our supporters allows us to keep our videos free for everyone. If you'd like to learn more about Buddhism, I invite you to visit our website. Thank you for watching.